32b. So we're in the middle of a number of statements of Abaye about people being obligated, people being exempt from money. So we're up to, on the third line, Hakol Modim B'Shekinegdo Chashad Al Shvuah. So we're gonna have a case of the other person who is suspect of being a robber, things like that, which exempt him from making a shvuah. We'll see what that means extensively in a second. And then the other statement was Hakol Modim Be'eid Echad Rabbi Abba. And there's a case of Rabbi Abba by one witness that everyone's going to agree to. Okay, so let's go one by one. Hakol Modim B'Shekinegdo Chashad Al Shvuah. So generally the rule is that in situations where someone's obligated to pay money, they are exempt if they are suspect, meaning if they are, let's say they're suspect of stealing. So such a person is also suspect for making a shvuah. So Hakol Modim B'Shekinegdo Chashad Al Shvuah the Chashud Man. So what's the case that we're talking about that everyone agrees to? So now we're on the one hand, we're going to have a witness. So we're going to have someone's going to accuse someone of owing him money, and that person's going to have to make a shvuah, but he's not going to be able to because he's going to be suspect. He has a bad history of robbery, let's say, and he can't make an oath. Now, we're going to have one witness come and testify to the fact that, let's say, Reuben owes Shimon money. The problem is, Reuben is not able to make a shvuah because he's suspect. He has a bad history of stealing. So, since that's true, let's see what's going to happen. So, what's the case exactly? Elaim the chashad lova. Let's say the lova. So, you have a malv and a lova. You have someone who loaned money. So Reuven loaned $100 from Shimon. So Shimon tells Reuven, "You owe me $100." Now, the lova is denying it. He also happens to have a bad history of thievery. So, okay, if I were to bring one witness now that says Reuven really does owe Shimon money, so one witness can't get money out of Reuven, but he can cause Reuven to make an oath. And what's the problem? Reuven can't make an oath because Reuven is suspect. He has a bad history of stealing. And therefore, he can't make an oath. We don't let him make an oath. So what do? So in this case, that the lova is chashid, he is suspect. So now, the Amr le Malva, the Malva says, "Iasis asadisli." The Malva tells this witness. This witness, he said, "Do you know testimony about this case?" And the witness says, "No, I don't know. I don't know who Reuven is. No idea." And then he's found to be a liar. He really did know witness, but he found to be a liar. So that's our case in the Mishnah. Shavuot Seidas, 32b. Yeah, 32b. Bottom. Yeah. So in that case, if one witness goes and denies testimony, I have no idea, and then he's found to be a liar, that's our case of our Mishnah, Shavuot Seidas, where a person makes an oath that he denies testimony. So let's say that would happen in this situation. A guy says, "I have no idea that Reuben owes Shimon money." Okay. Then he comes and says he's found to be a liar. He really does know that Reuben owes Shimon money. Except in this case, Reuven could not have made the shvuah, the oath, because Reuven was suspect. So the Malva tells him, if you would have come and testified for me, so then how they mishtabna v'shekilna. So the rule is if two people are fighting over money, Shimon says, "Reuven, you owe me money." Reuven says, "Nothing doing." So now you bring one witness who says Reuven owes Shimon money. So Reuven makes the shvuah. He makes the oath and says, "I don't owe him money." So now, what if he can't make the oath? So what happens? It goes back to Shimon. Shimon can make the oath and take the money. Nishba v'nota, you can make a shua and take the money. A rabbinic oath. The biblical oaths are always exempting yourself from money. The rabbinical oaths are always taking money. So he can make an oath and take the money. So now, Shimon, the one who loaned the money, tells this other guy, if you would have come and testified that Reuven owes me money, since Reuven is not able to make a shvua, an oath, I would have made the oath and taken the money. Therefore, by you lying, making a false oath that you don't know testimony, you caused me a financial loss. And our Mishnah, Shvua Sa'id, is the oath of testimony. You're liable, but it has to do with a financial loss. Someone denied testimony that would have resulted in a financial loss. So that's what. So we're saying, if that's the case, what's the problem? The lay, the one witness, should have told the guy. He should have told Shimon back. The lay mar mi yemer the mishtabis. Listen, not everyone makes shvuas. Some people are scared to make oaths. So you're telling me if I would have come and testified that really Reuven owed you money, what would have happened? You would have made an oath and taken the money from Reuven, and therefore now that I denied it, you want me to be liable to pay you. But who says you would have sworn? Swearing is a big deal. So it's not necessarily, my denial is not necessarily a direct cause of money to you. So that's not the case of that everyone agrees to. What's the case? Ela kagon. What if shneihen chashud? Both Reuven and Shimon have a bad track record. They both got released from prison, and next thing you know, well, what do you know? They start fighting. Yeah, Reuven, you owe me money. No, I don't. Yeah, I do. No, I don't. Yeah, I do. Okay. And now, what would happen? Damar mar chazra shvua lemechuyavla. So now, the shvua is really placed upon the person who's obligated to make it, which is Reuven, the one who wants to exempt himself. Shimon saying, Reuven, you owe me money. So generally, Reuven says, I don't owe you anything. Okay, so now he has to make an oath to exempt himself. He can't make an oath. What do you want to say? Shimon should make the oath? Shimon also can't make the oath. He also has a bad track record. So it goes back to Reuven. But Reuven can't make the oath. So what do? Since you can't make an oath, you have to pay. You have to pay. Now, this oath would have only happened if that one witness would have come and said, Reuven owes Shimon money. Shimon just tells Reuven you owe money, and Reuven says, no, I don't. There's no oath there. You have to have some proof. The guy walks up to you in the street, Jules, $1 million. You're like, no. You have to make an oath. Who trusts this guy? He has to bring a proof or something. So, he said, I have a witness, though. If that witness, instead of denying falsely testimony, would have come and testified that Reuven actually owes me $100, what would have happened? Reuven would have to make an oath. And since he cannot make an oath, he would have to pay me. So this one witness's denial of testimony, it caused me to have a loss of money. And therefore, when he denies the testimony and then is found to be a liar, he's going to have to bring a korban. Okay, that's that case. The other case, Hakol Modin Beit Echad, the Rebbe Abba. Case talked about in yeshivas often. I think Baba Basra. Later in Shavuos, and Baba Basra, yeah. So the Hu Gavra, the Chat of Nascha Mechavre. So it's called Nascha the Rebbe. Nascha, some kind of silver. What? Ingot. Like a block of silver. Yeah.
Silver.
An ingot.
INGOT.
Is that a common used word in America? Yeah.
How many people run around with silver?
Should I use it at the graduation speech today? An ingot? Only you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. So a silver block, basically a block of silver. So what happened? So a guy walks up to me and says, he took back I'm walking with a nice silver block. Yeah, Steve comes up and grabs it from me. I was like, oh, it's ridiculous. Let's go to court. Okay, Asla Kamad Rabbi Abba. So we go in front of Asla Kamad Rabbi Ami, in front of Rabbi Ami, who was Have Yosef, Rabbi Abba Kamei, who Rabbi Abba was sitting in front of him, and all of a sudden, Ozil I see Chad Sada. So now I bring Jules. I'm like, Jules, you were here. Daf Yomi. You saw Steve. He took the silver block from my hand. No denying that one. So now the michtaf, He took it from me. Now, here's the catch. Steve pipes up and says, you're right. I did take it. I took back what's mine. It was mine. He comes to my store on Thursdays, and the next thing I know, I'm missing my silver block. And he shows up one morning and he has it. So I take it from him. So I'm like, in chatvi, you're right. I did take it, except b'didi chatvi. Okay. So how do you judge this case? Rabbi Ami. Heichi l'daine daino l'haidina. How do we judge the following case? Let's go through the possibilities. Li shalem, to make Steve pay me back. I don't have two witnesses. Like a Trey Sadi. I can't just take money from his pocket. I don't have two witnesses. Lemiftere, just to exempt him and have him walk out scot-free. Jules is a witness. Jules comes in saying, I saw Steve take it. So you can't let him off scot-free. So what are you going to say? There's one witness. There is one witness who saw him take it. So we're going to say, make a shvuah. Lishtava. Let Steve make a shvuah that really belongs to him. The problem is, the shvuah would be here that I know something like it was mine the whole time. He can't make a shvuah that I stole from somebody and now I'm saying that it belongs to me. And that's like being a gazlan. What's the shvuah going to be? I stole from him? That doesn't work. And you can't make up your new shvuah. So if you say it was in my possession the whole time or something like that, fine. But here the shvuah is, I'm a robber. That's not going to work. So Amrle Rabbi Abba, Havle Mechuyev shvuah. Really, Steve has to make a shvuah, but he can't make a shvuah because the shvuah is going to basically say I'm a robber, and then you can't do that. Anybody who's obligated to make a shvuah, and he's not able to, he has to pay. So now, in this case, you have one witness. So if Jules were to deny that testimony, really, he knew testimony. He knew that Steve took it from me. And he kept quiet, and he denied it, and he's found to be a liar. So then he would have to bring a korban, because he caused a direct loss of money. If you were to come and testify that you took this from me, you can't make a swear, you cannot make an oath, and since you can't make an oath, you'd have to pay me. And since you didn't pipe up in time, he didn't pay me, I was caused the financial loss. So you'll be liable. Okay. Continuing this idea of everyone agrees, everyone disagrees. Homer of Papa. At least everyone's in agreement, right? A kol modim. So usually they're fighting. This way is good. So Homer of Papa hakol modim. He says everyone agrees that there's a case of one witness who testifies about a death, shu chayiv, the hakol modim, and everyone agrees there's a case of one witness who testifies about a death, shehu pater. Meaning chayiv and pater means if he were to deny it and then found to be a liar, is he obligated in the korban or is he exempt from the korban? Well, let's go one by one. Hakol modim be'ed misa, shu pater. So the amar la ledida, the lo amar lahu lebezdin. So it's where is it? I don't know. And the Yevamos, I think, that usually you need two witnesses to establish facts, but there's a special leniency by a woman to get remarried. You can even have one witness. So, yeah, I remember a big changing moment for me was when the head of the one of the rabbinical courts in America spoke. When I was in YU on Shabbos. He was involved in 9/11, meaning there's 13 women who had to get remarried, and they couldn't. There was no witnesses that their husband died. And he gave a whole shiur on what they had to do. The Metro card. There's a camera of the Metro card. Him using does that count? All these, and they sent the letters to the big rabbis in Israel and back and forth. I remember, like, you see how halacha directly just saved someone's life. It like hit me very. 13 women now are like their life has been saved because these people are saying all they going through all the halachic, loopholes, leniencies, whatever. Anyways, so one witness tells this lady outside of court. He tells her, by the way, I saw your husband die outside of court. Okay. Now remember, as soon as her husband established that her husband's dead, she can collect her ksuba. She collects her ksuba. She collects her money. So and she'll get remarried. So now, so he told her. He didn't tell the court. No, he saw her on the street. By the way, your husband's overseas. Unfortunately, the boat sank or whatever. So he didn't tell Bezdin. Fine. So now, the Mishnah says, Ha'isha sha'amra meiz baili, a woman who says, my husband died, Tinase, she gets remarried, meiz baili tisyabein. My husband died, she can have Yibum. So now, this person, right, so why is he exempt? This guy did not testify. He lied. He said, she said, weren't you on that trip with my husband? Don't you know what happened to him? Nothing. I have no idea what happened to him. I don't know. We parted ways. And he makes an oath about that. I don't know any testimony. And then he's found to be a liar. So why is he exempt? She's exempt because if a woman were to come to court and say my husband died, she's believed. If she'd come to court and say my husband died, she's believed to get remarried, and she's believed to have Yibum. It sounds like even without any witness, the Mishnah there in Yavama says, just we believe her. We believe her word. She's enough to be believed about her husband. So therefore, this guy that told her outside of court that her husband died, she doesn't need him. If she were to go to court and say my husband died, they believe her already. So she doesn't need him. So his denial didn't cause her any loss. Without him, she could also get the money for the ksuba. What's the case where he's liable? He didn't tell her, and he didn't tell the court. So she has no idea of anything. It's like, what's it based off of? So in that case, he's going to be liable, because if he were to tell her, then she can use that information and go and collect her ksuba. If nobody will tell her anything, she's left wondering, and it's just, well, I think he died. Well, that's not enough. So in that case, he is causing her a direct loss, because if he were to pipe up and give testimony, she could take that testimony, go to court, collect her ksuba. The fact that he kept quiet and didn't say anything, and then and made an oath that he doesn't know any testimony, and then was found to be a liar, so he is going to be liable now for violating the Shavuos Eidos, the oath of testimony. So on this, the Gemara says, Shma mina mashbiya eidei karka chayev. Sounds like there's a discussion in another area about we're going to see, it sounds like in about 4 daf from now, the whole machlokas about witnesses coming and testifying or not testifying about land, and then denying testimony about things regarding collecting land. So apparently there's a whole discussion. If they're found to be liars, do they have to pay, not have to pay? How do you deal with oaths and land? Well, a ksuba is generally, at least in the times of the Gemara, is collected from land, for real estate, not for movables. And we just said that he just denies an oath about, he's denying an oath that he knows any testimony, resulting in her inability to collect her ksuba. Sounds like it's a whole discussion later on, but you can conclude from here that an oath about land, in our case about a ksuba, works. If you deny testimony about land, meaning about her ksuba collection, and then you are found to be a liar, then you are liable for the oath of testimony, even though it's a whole discussion later on. Says the Gemara, no. You cannot necessarily bring out conclusive proof from here, because Dilma de Tfisa metatli. It could be in her husband's lifetime, she snatched that envelope full of ksuba money that was maybe designated for her. She already took it. So really what they're testifying about is, can she keep that money in her hands, or she has to give it back? So it's not necessarily a proof that you're making a shvuah about land. It could be that she actually took the money that is considered immovable. Yeah. Okay. So the Mishnah said, that so you have 2 witnesses that come, they're brought to court, said, Dino testimony. So now each one makes an oath that he does not know testimony. So first goes Reuven, then goes Shimon. Reuven's found to be a liar. Shimon's found to be a liar. The Mishnah says only the first one is liable, because once he's found to be liable, the second guy is no longer a witness anymore. He's just one guy. You have to have two guys. So that's one case. And then the next case is if one guy denies and one guy admits, so same thing, the guy that denies is liable. Because the second guy is just one guy afterwards. So now, these two cases, Hashta, Bezeh Achar Zeh, the Travayu Kakafri, Reuven and Shimon, who both denied that they know any testimony and are found to be liars. What's the halacha? Amris Harishon Chayva Sheni Pater. First guy's liable, second one's exempt. Because once the first guy denies any testimony, second guy is like a news reporter. He doesn't know anything. He's not a witness. He's just one guy. So then he's going to be exempt. So then the next case is, if the same thing happened, just one little difference, kafar echad, the first guy denies testimony, but now the second guy admits that he knows testimony, so then for sure the second guy is exempt. If they both deny testimony, the second guy actually lied. He made an oath and he lied. He's still exempt because at the end of the day, he's only one guy now. Because if the first guy is found to be a liar, for sure if the second guy admits that he knows about the case, so for sure he's going to be exempt because the first guy is still denied testimony, which then caused guy number two to just be a regular guy, an outsider, a news reporter, not a witness. So says the Gemara like this: Lo tzricha, we needed the novelty for the following case. Kegon shekafru shneim, they both denied testimony. Now one of them, guy number two, Shimon, right away, so, do you know testimony? Reuben says, no, I swear I don't know testimony. Shimon, I swear I don't know testimony. Oh, hold on, I do know testimony. He gets it in within 2-3 seconds. So now, okay, what's the novelty of that? It comes to teach you the novelty that if you get it in within that time period, that's considered enough. And if you get it within that time period, then that's still can be considered enough. We go with your second word, not your first word. Says the Gemara, well, for those who were here yesterday, they know we knew this right from the beginning part of the Mishnah. We had a case of we had a case in the beginning of two people denying at one time. We said, what does it mean two people deny at one time? We gave two answers. One, it means literally simultaneously, according to the opinion that simultaneously two heads can come out of a firstborn animal, and that really could happen exactly at the same time. And the second opinion said, no, it was just teaching you the novelty of Tokadei Dibur Kedibur Dami. Wasn't exactly, but it was within a few seconds of each other, which is enough to be considered one testimony. So those are two opinions yesterday. The Gemara is doing mathematics now. So if the beginning of the Mishnah was going according to the opinion that things could happen simultaneously, so until the end of the Mishnah, we don't know the novelty that you can get in, that you can change your what you said, that you have that 2-second leeway to change what you said. That's a novelty. That would make sense that the end of the Mishnah would be teaching that to me. But Elul Rabbi Yochanan, that already established the beginning of the Mishnah, teaching me that novelty, that when two witnesses come at the same time and testify, that as long as they get it in within a few seconds of each other, that counts. So I know that novelty already from the beginning of the Mishnah, that toch kedei dibur, things that are spoken within the amount of time it takes to say, how are you, Rebbe? Within that time period, whatever it is, 2 seconds, that's still considered like your words. It's not a new statement, it's part of your first statement. So I knew that already. So according to him, what's the end of the Mishnah teaching me? Elul Rabbi Yochanan Rachel the Tokadei Dibur, Sefer Tokadei Dibur, Tarti Lamali. I have two novelties in the Mishnah, both teach me the same thing, that I have within 2 seconds to either start my next testimony, that the other guy can start his testimony, or I can still retract. I have 2 seconds to retract my testimony, and we go with the second Dibur. So, says no, there's still going to be a novelty. Maybe the two cases are different. There's still an extra novelty. The first case was, once again, one witness testifying and the other witness starting within 2 seconds of the first guy. That's considered two of them testifying at the same time. And then there's this case where one guy denies and one guy admits. But the guy that admitted is only admitting within 2 seconds of him denying. So, Mahu de Tema Honey Mili Kfira. Kfira Vikfira. You would have thought that Tok de Dibur is interesting, would only work when two people are denying. Meaning, when you're both saying the same thing, you have Tok de Dibur. So Aval, Kfira Vehoda, if a guy denies and then totally switches to admit. So he says, I don't know testimony. I swear, I don't know testimony. And now within 2 seconds, he switches to I do know testimony. You would have thought that we don't say this novelty over there. The question is, why not? Like if you have a 2 second leeway, you have a 2 second leeway. Sounds like, there's certain rules and regulations over here to totally switch and totally retract your statement. For some reason, the Gemara thinks that would have broken the rules. That you can't do. A malo, Kamash Malan to teach you. Even if you make a total 180, that you from denying of the oath to admitting of the oath, as long as you get it in within 2 seconds, that's going to be enough. That will go after your second statement. I'm not exactly sure that middle step. Like, why not? If the halacha is you have 2-3 seconds, so why should it make a difference if you totally change your statement or not? I don't know. But the novelty is that no, you can even you can do a 180. You can do a 180 and reverse your statement, and that because you did it in that period of time, so we really go with your second statement of hoda, of admission, and not of denial. Yeah, okay. So now we had 2 sets of witnesses. Each set of 4 people, 2 sets of witnesses. Each one denied that they know any testimony. So I brought 2 sets of witnesses to court, and we made them make a swear that they make an oath that they don't know any testimony. And each pair of witnesses made an oath that they do not know testimony. And one by one, they're found to be liars. And now they're both liable to bring this variable offering. So now, which one really caused the financial loss? Well, let's think. If the first pair wasn't there, I still have the second pair, right? So you need a financial loss to be caused. So if I have 2 sets of witnesses, at the end of the day, as long as I have the second pair of witnesses that will testify for me, I'll get money from the guy. So the first pair is really not necessary, just extra. The more the merrier. So why are they liable if they're found to be in denial of the oath? Why are they liable? They didn't cause a direct loss of money. I have a second pair of witnesses. So that's the question. That you're liable. Why? The kafrla, the kafrla rishona. The first group denied that they don't have any testimony. So what are you left with? The second pair of witnesses. It's up to them. If they tell the truth, I get my money. If they lie, I don't get my money. So they're liable. But Ella Rishona Amaya Hakayim Shniya. But why is the first one liable? So this is one of these cases where the Gemara, so to speak, stands on his head to figure out this must be the only case. So Hakamaya Skinan that Kigon Shahaisa Shniya B'Shas Kfiras Rishona Krovim B'Nishosein. So you have 2 sets of witnesses, except the second set of witnesses at the time that the first set was testifying, the second set were married. There were 2 guys, and they're married to sisters. So they can't really be witnesses. They're krovim, they're relatives. However, their sisters were on death row. They're both in the ICU. They're both about to die. So you would have thought, Mao the Tamer, Rov Gos and Lamisa. Most people at that state that they're in end up dying. So maybe you should consider them, that they're totally good. They're able to testify. Because they're not really relatives. Their wives are on death row. Not on death row. They're on their deathbed. Not death row. They didn't do anything wrong. They're about to die. So they're on their last breath. So maybe you would have thought, since step 1, they're on their deathbed. Step 2, most people in their situation do not make it. So maybe you would have thought that that's enough already to let them testify together. Kamashlan, that no. Kamashlan. But and if that would be true, that you let them testify, so then once again, that first pair should be exempt because you don't need the first pair of witnesses. You have a second pair of witnesses. Kamash Malan, that they're still considered relatives, and therefore, in a case or this case, the first pair of witnesses is really the only pair that's viable. Exactly. Thank you. So therefore, that's why they're going to be liable because they are causing a direct loss.
What's the rules when there's two sets of witnesses that come and give precipitation?
If they're contradicting each other,
Group. So one group comes and says it's they, the other group comes and says it's not.
Right. I believe it's called Eidei Achasha. They knock each other out. Here, what's happening here? Here they're both denying. Reuven says, Shimon owes me $1 million. So each group is saying, nothing doing. Never heard of it. I don't know who Shimon is. And then they're both like, oh, we were lying. Shimon's our next door neighbor. Yeah. Okay.
The other thing, first, there was footnote 35. I thought that answered the question that you were.
Yeah, what is that?
In case of two denials uttered by two people, one after the other, in light of the rule of Tashkid and Gabor, the two statements viewed as though they are all part of one statement. In the case of a witness who denies and later confesses, however, insufficient that the two statements are deemed to be connected. It is necessary that the second statement, the confession, have the capacity to override the first statement, the denial.
Interesting. Okay, from what I understand from the footnote is that when you have two statements, but they're totally contradicting each other, even though you said it within 2 seconds, if they're so vastly different, then you would view it as two statements. And the novelty is that as long as you get it in the 2 seconds, so you just overlook the first statement as if it never happened or whatever it is, you don't go to the second statement. Right? It's very relevant. You pray prayer 8, Adama. Right? So what do you do in that? Things like that.
Yeah.
It comes up, right?
Right.
So the second statement is not similar to the first statement, but you get in within 2-3 seconds. Okay, very good. Thank you, Jules. Okay.
That's okay. No, I'm sorry. You got it. I read it, but I'm not sure.
But the general rule is that you have 2-3 seconds to say another statement. But we simply understood it's just a correction of your first statement. Right. So
but it's so totally different.
It's so totally different, then it would be a totally second statement.
Yeah.
And the fact that you got it in within 2 seconds is irrelevant.
Right.
Kamashwan, the novelty is that no. Once you say that, you could say either you just go with the second statement, you go and you reject the first statement, or you retract the first statement. I don't know, so there's different ways to
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Good. Oh, good. First day of the week. Yeah. It's first days of Shavuot. Yeah. So okay. Next Mishnah. This one saves us because it goes fast. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. So Mashbiani Aleichem in lo. So same thing. Make an oath to me. In lo tavo v'tayiduni. You should make an oath to me. In lo tavo v'tayiduni sheish li biad ploni pikadon. That I don't have my article in someone else's possession. This is shumas yad, and I don't have a loan in that guy's hands. The gezel ve'aveda, I don't have his stolen object or his lost object. That's one. So he just listed a whole bunch of things. You make an oath to me that I don't have my object in Reuven's possession. I don't have a loan with Reuven. I don't have his stolen object. I don't have his lost object. 4 things. The response of the witnesses is, Shavuot ain't adi odulach edus. I know nothing who Reuven is or Shimon is. I don't know anything. And now they're found to be liars. Are they liable 4 or are they liable 1? They denied 4 things, but they only denied it with 1 statement. I don't know anything about this. So halacha is ein chayav in halachas. They're liable for 1 thing. We said we don't know anything about this. And it turns out they were lying. They do know about this. So that's 1 offering that they're liable for. If they would have said, though, Shavuot, we're making a shvuah, ain anu yoda, we don't know, we don't know that you have your object, that he has your object, that he has your object, that that you guys have a loan, that you have a stolen object, that you have his lost object. If they would spoken all of those out, and then they're found to be a liar, they're liable for each and everything that they denied. Next case. So a guy tells two witnesses, Mashpiani Aleichem, I'm making you make a swear. In lo tavo v'ta'idu, that you shouldn't come and testify that what? Sheyesh li biyad ploni, that I have in that person's hand my object, that he has my object. Sheyesh li biyadi ploni pikado, my object, or chitin or wheat or saorin or barley or kusman or spelt. Once again, four things. Shavuot and the other lechaedos, they say we don't know anything about you, Reuven, Shimon, I don't know anything, and then they're found to be liars. They actually do know. Ein chayav and ela akas, liable one, because they said we don't know anything, and really they did know something, so they're liable one. If they would have spoken it out, Shavuot and the yodan lechaedos, sheyesh lecha, that you have biyad ploni in that person's hands, chitin saorin v'kusman, and they actually spoke out that we don't know that you have any of his wheat, barley, or spelt. And then they make a shvuah, and then they're found to be liars that they actually did know that he has all those three. Then they're liable for each and every one of those cases. They made three false oaths. Third case, Mashibiani Aleichem ilo tavo v'tayiduni sheyesh li biyad ploni. So now we're leaving the world of deposits and loans to damages. Make a swear that you don't know, that you're not going to come and you don't know anything about sheyesh li biyad ploni nezek, that I owe him, I damage his object. Either my wild ox damages object, or chatzi nezek is when a tame ox damages him, or tashlume kefel, that I owe him, I stole and I owe him double, kefel's double, or I stole his sheep, his sheep or ox, and then I ended up shechting it and selling it, and now I'm liable to pay 4 and 5 times the amount of the animal. And v'sha'anas ish ploni as biti, and about that person who raped someone's daughter, who raped my daughter. He says who pita as biti, or seduced my daughter, or v'shikeni b'ni, or that he whacked my son, or v'shechavel b'chaveri, or that he caused damage to my friend, or or he lit up my field on fire on Yom Kippur. All of these cases of damages. So if they were to make an oath that they know nothing about any of these, and then they're found to be liars, so then they're going to be obligated for any one of these. If they deny any one of these things, and then they're found to be liars, they're going to be obligated. Now, we'll see, but each one of these has different novelties. So, for example, the cases of kefil, or 4 and 5, is considered a knas. A knas is always something the Torah puts above and beyond what you have to pay. So you stole an object, the principal you have to pay back. Double, where'd that come from? Knas. You stole a sheep, or an ox, and then you shecht it, and then you sold it. So you have to pay back the principal, and you have to pay 4 or 5. So that's a knas. So for that, you're also liable. The case on Yom Kippur is, we'll see also in the Gemara, talking about what the novelty of that case is. But we know that usually on Yom Kippur, if you light a fire, then you're liable kares. And it's not so simple that when you're liable kares, you also have to pay financial damages for lighting sealed on fire. So, fine. But before we get there, the Gemara has a question. Ibailahu mashbia ede knas mahu. So, what happens if you have 2 witnesses come and they testify about a knas? So let's say the case where they're coming to testify that you owe him double the amount. You stole, and he comes and says, can you guys testify that he owes me double? He stole my object. He owes me double. And they're found to, they deny. We know nothing about it. They're found to be liars. What's the halacha? So now we know There's a general rule that Moda B'Knas is patur. A special verse tells you that only Bezdin can make you pay. But if you come in and say that, I actually stole someone's object, you're going to be exempt from paying double. It's called a Moda B'Knas. If you admit to a Knas, a case of a Knas, then you're going to be exempt. So the question is, what happens if you do that and then two witnesses come and say that you owe the money? Are you still exempt? Or no? In that case, of course, you're liable. So that's two opinions. So now, Ali Bad Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon, according to Rabbi Lazar, the son of Reb Shimon, Lo Tibayla. Not a question at all. Why? The Amar Yavo Edim V'Ya'idu. He says, even if you admit that you actually stole the sheep, shechted it, and sold it, or you did steal and you pay double, and you really are exempt, that's only if witnesses don't come. But if witnesses come, of course you have to pay. So according to him, of course, if witnesses come and testify that they know nothing about this robbery, and then they come and they admit that we were lying, or they're found to be liars, of course they have to bring a sacrifice, because even though generally one is exempt from it for admitting to a knas, to a penalty, but Rabbi Eliezer holds that if witnesses were to come, I'd be liable. So when witnesses come and deny that they don't have any testimony about a case of a penalty, for sure they're causing a loss. And therefore, when they're found to be liars, they're going to be obligated to pay the korban. The question is, Kiti Bailach Aliba de Rabbanu. According to the Rabbanon, they hold the Amri Moda B'Knas. If a guy admits, I stole your object, and now he's liable $100 for the stolen object and $200 because of the penalty of the Torah. And now, if two witnesses come and say, by the way, he stole that object, it doesn't matter. He's still exempt from paying the fine. Even if two witnesses come and say he stole the object, once you admit that you did something which is liable a fine, you are exempt from paying the fine, even if two witnesses come afterwards. According to the Rabbanon, we have a question. So, Tibaylach aliba de Rabbanon, the Amri Moda B'Knas, the Achar Kach Bo Edim Pater. So according to them, we have a question, and we'll leave off on a cliffhanger.